Welcome to In the Frame. During your visit you may be met with explicit language and references, and spoilers throughout. You have been warned.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to In the Frame. We are the opinion no one asked for. This week we are talking about Skyscraper. My name's Will, and I'll be joined as always by Sam, Dan, and Rodeo.
Yeah.
So, brother, give us a synopsis, Sam.
Slight Die Hard, but without the vengeance.
This film is basically Die Hard and Taken's ugly baby. Oh.
Alright, so Skyscraper, what did you guys think?
First impressions.
I went into the cinema thinking, why are we going to watch this one? The first film we go to watch with our Cineworld Unlimited cards is this one. But I actually quite enjoyed myself.
Yeah, because you guys really were not looking forward to this one.
I thought it was going to be bollocks. I was right, but I had fun. The first half was a bit boring. The second half, he turned into Bumblebee Man, and it was just fucking hilarious.
Bumblebee.
Yeah, he fucking strapped all the duct tape to his hand and started like suctioning on the outside of the building. Hilarious.
Stolen from Mission Impossible.
Yeah, it just reminded me way too much of Mission Impossible 4. That was the problem. It wasn't done as good as that.
I don't think it was done as good as Bumblebee Man from The Simpsons, personally.
I thought the CG was pretty good looking, though.
Yeah, I think sometimes it got a bit flaky.
I know what you mean, but the beginning when we get in the specs of the tower was
that was
pretty
cool.
lush, pretty lavish.
I didn't like it when they took the floor away.
No, you're getting vertigo, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, in that part, I thought if you were in a room and suddenly all the walls disappeared, you would freak out, wouldn't you? You wouldn't be like, oh, like you would. You'd be like, holy fucking shit, I'm floating.
Also, at this point, Will leaned over to me and went, I bet they use this at the end.
Yeah, finale that shit.
I guess what happened?
I didn't understand the point with all the mirrors coming up out of the ground.
I mean, it made for a pretty cool ending, though. Like that was kind of
true. The ending point of it.
At the point when all of the weird mirror shit popped up in the intro bit, Dan, you turned to me and you said, "What's the point in that?" And I said, "I didn't know." Then it got to the fight scene at the end, and I very almost turned to you and said, "There's the point."
It was good fun. It was a popcorn flick. Obviously, it was taking lots of aspects of the 80s sort of action genre.
Watching Dwayne Johnson trying to speak Chinese was the best bit.
Oh, yeah.
From the setup of this movie, he's there to check the building's safe, right? So he moves his family in first.
What a knob.
Kind of just like, why?
Well, yeah, they were the first.
They were there. They were the first people because nobody's above floor 96. Oh wait, it's the family of the guy who's checking the building out. You haven't got time to get back to the tower, brother. So it's okay because you kept the iPad that's got your face on it. So
I was trying to work out if it was an iPad or a...
I mean, it could have been a Kindle. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was definitely an iPad. Yeah. I mean, they already had
an iPhone in it.
They had the iPhone. Wow, there was another bit of product placement in there as well that was really obvious. I can't remember it now.
There wasn't a lot of advertising in this movie, considering the city it's set in.
The main product used in it is duct tape.
Dwayne Johnson and his duct tape.
He was very tame in this movie.
I thought that too.
I thought he actually acted okay, to be honest. There was nothing wrong with his performance. Neve Campbell, this was her first film since 2011. She'd been in 2 series, I think.
I've seen her before in something, but I couldn't place it.
She started off in Scream, and then she sort of took a break from acting, did a couple of bits, and I think this is like her first film since then. I thought her performance was pretty good. Dwayne Johnson's, pretty good.
I thought their performances were fine. I thought the script didn't really do them any favours. Like, there was some really awkward dialogue at the beginning when everything was chill and they weren't dying or anything.
Brother.
And the bit where she was like, "Oh, I need you to fix my phone because for some reason I can't do it myself." And he was turn it off and on again. And they had the whole sassy joke about it that wasn't funny. But it was great because all of the bits that weren't supposed to be funny were hilarious.
Oh, when they went for that joke again at the end of the movie, I considered leaving. Like, that was the point of the movie where I was like, they just ruined the whole thing. Like, that joke was just not funny from the get-go. So why use it at a pivotal point? Like,
thing is, you could tell that they just really wanted to work it in, because when they first had that conversation at the beginning, it felt really forced and awkward. And I was sat there thinking, why are they having this conversation? And then at the end, when they reused it, I was like, oh, that's why.
There was a over-the-shoulder shot of her with the iPad, and it said system reboot or something. I thought, oh no.
Yeah, and the whole building was up in flames at this point, so all the systems still worked.
Yeah, and I thought, at the beginning when they take over the off-site security centre or whatever it was called.
The one that's a construction site that the police don't know about.
Yeah. They brought that one guy in to hack it all and to make sure only he could change it, didn't they?
Yeah.
They made like the emphasis of him being like, I'm the only one who can crack my own code because I made it up, and then they shoot him, and then she just like turns it off and on again. It's like, well, there you go.
Yeah, she was pointless, and she was not giving the greatest performance.
Or the crazy Asian bitch.
Yes.
I don't think any of the villains were very memorable in this film. Because I think what they a missed opportunity where they could have had Brother as the main bad guy, and then they could have had maybe like a little twist in there, and brought the twist a bit further out in the film. Because I think his death scene was actually quite well performed.
Yeah, I mean, that fight scene was like, it was
Yeah, that
giving
was
me
pretty
Kill
cool.
Bill vibes.
Yeah, and the whole no music and all the thuds of the punches.
And
Pretty-
all of the broken furniture.
And I like how he can throw Dwayne Johnson across the room, like,
Even though it's like half the size of him.
yeah.
Yeah, he's not a small guy, is he?
It's like a rock. What about the start of this film?
I quite like that beginning bit. That was quite,
It's an intense start.
when they go into that building to
Oh, yeah.
when he's all FBI, but
Children died in the first 2 minutes of this movie.
yeah.
The thing that annoyed me about that was the kids died, and then the next shot was Dwayne Johnson on a stretcher, and it was like, actually, I don't give a shit about him. I want to know if the family are all right.
No,
That's
but
true.
that's how they got the love interest involved.
Yeah, that was creepy because it was like suddenly there's a kind of saucy shot of a doctor. It's like,
What about the soundtrack? What do you think, Dan?
I thought it was kind of what you expected of this sort of film.
What about when
Didn't really stand
the
out or
scene
anything.
where he jumps from the crane? That bit, the music I thought was a bit more like gritty. I thought
That bit was really good.
different.
Pumping.
That was a really tense scene as well. There were a few tense parts in it.
It's your reaction when he almost fell. Like they baited you so bad. There was actually a lot less action sequences than I expected in this movie. Did anyone else feel like that? There was a lot of gaps between them.
I thought the whole film was basically an action sequence. Like after the first family normal didn't get to see the pandas bit.
I felt like there was a lot of unnecessary cutbacks to this storyline that wasn't that clear with the dude at the top of the tower. And I started to stop asking the questions that the movie probably wanted to ask halfway through these cutbacks. If they stay up there, they stay up there. I don't care anymore.
When Dwayne Johnson was almost arrested because they thought he was the one who was sabotaging the tower, when he just realised his family were in there and the police showed up, his reaction really shouldn't have been to leg it and try and climb a crane. It should have really been to go with the police and be like, by the way, my family's in there, helicopter. And they would have been like, fair enough, civilians.
Leg it.
Yeah. Should we talk about the prosthetic leg?
That's quite an obvious point of this film. I think we should mention it. Okay, so Sam just showed me a headline that's on BBC News, which says, is Dwayne Johnson's disabled role in Skyscraper offensive?
Now, you haven't read the article. I've read the article. The point is not very clear from the headline. The point is, if they're going to go down this script line with having a prosthetic leg, should Dwayne Johnson be playing that role, or should someone with the actual disability be playing that role? Is that role being taken away from people? And they're using big names basically in those roles. And it goes on to state that Scarlett Johansson stepped down from a transgender role recently because she's not transgender, basically.
I read that article and I found it really interesting that they wrote an article about her, but they didn't really care when Eddie Redmayne was in The Danish Girl, or all of the other actors who act for a living and play roles that aren't them for a living.
Personally, I think you get the right actor that can act the part. If you're going for an action film, then one of the clear choices is Dwayne Johnson, or Jason Statham is another one as well. But you go for them. They can act the part.
It was an interesting plot device in this movie. I wasn't expecting it.
I think it was kind of pointless.
Well, he kind of put on half a limp every now and again. I mean, to be honest, I think if we're going to talk about the prosthetic leg being potentially offensive, I think the fact that, I mean, there were funny moments involving the leg, which just made you laugh at it, which probably wasn't the best. I mean, I think it's lovely that someone with a disability is, empowered to go and climb frickin' cranes and all that shit. But The bit where he opened the door with his leg.
Oh yeah.
That gave me a full-on knee slap. I did a knee slap and full-on laughed at that.
That whole Indiana
It's
Jones
hilarious.
sort of.
Was that the door bit?
Yeah, where he had to jam the door open because it was closing automatically. So he shoved his prosthetic leg in there to wedge it open.
'Cause I was half expecting him to lose his leg, and then he have to carry on without it. I think that would have been more of a better, overcome your weaknesses
And your blood loss.
I'm going to agree with Sam on this point. I thought it was actually an interesting plot point. Like, you find out characters used to play Pokemon when they were a kid or something stupid like that. It's not relevant to the plot of the film, but it's still an interesting thing. And you get to know more about the character that way. The leg showed you a little bit more about what he's like. So
It gave Dwayne Johnson a reason to not be as brass and as out there as he is in most of his movies as well, I think.
Yeah, it made him more humble, didn't it?
Yeah, but then is that stereotyping?
But also, did you guys pick up when him and brother are on the boat at the beginning of the film? He says that he hasn't picked up a gun in like 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's never really like.
I wasn't sure whether we were going to go into PTSD or not. I
I
felt like
maybe later on he'll maybe like have the whole, he picks up a gun, and because he just sort of picks up that handgun later on. And
Yeah, he's just really chill with it. There's not a moment there.
Like 10 years is quite a long time. I mean, surely being traumatized with what happened, you would maybe.
does he fire the gun though?
in an action film with
'cause
Dwayne Johnson,
that's-
you can't remember if a gun's fired.
No, the bit where brother turns on him. Dwayne Johnson picks up the gun and he's like trying to get it away from him, but then he shoots brother.
Yeah.
That's how brother dies. And then of course he's just like chill with guns for the rest of the film. So I mean, personally, I feel like the gun thing, the PTSD thing, that was kind of half-assed in the same way that the leg was. Like, I think I agree with you actually, Dan. The leg was a really interesting character point, but then it was kind of forgotten about for the plot. It added comedy moments, which probably isn't the route you want to go down if you're trying to do something like that. They kind of could have done something interesting with the gun thing, but just kind of forgot about it.
I don't think he used a gun for the rest of the film though.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the whole ending sequence is a gun.
So he gives him a gun. Remember the guy from Dark Knight? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but I don't think he uses it.
you're
He
true.
doesn't use a gun that much in this film.
No, he doesn't really. He uses that fucking sword, which came
Yeah,
out
I
of
mean,
the
that was fucking cheesy.
Pulls a sword out of his trousers.
Oh,
Does anyone know how long it took for them to build this building? Like, this building's huge.
I don't think it says, does it?
Don't know, like
Does it say at the beginning? I can't remember.
a couple of weeks or something.
not with the fucking council around here.
It's a pretty cool building, though.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to visit it.
Well, it's too late now. It's gone.
Well, no,
Well, no,
'cause-
he's
'cause
gonna
the guy
rebuild.
said, I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
rebuild. I actually physically face palmed then.
Well, it's like,
It's like
at that point we hadn't had turn it off and on again, and I'm behind you.
Yeah, that already happened. That happened.
Is that going to be a lead in for Skyscraper 2?
Skyscraper 2?
Yeah. Because you had him looking out the window mystically of this helicopter going, I'm going to rebuild.
To be fair, though, they could have had more cliches in this movie. Like, I feel like at certain times when it was just action stuff, we avoided a lot of the cheesy one-liners that they could have brought out. They just saved them all up for the end.
No, if you want that, watch Expendables.
I feel like this film tries to be more serious than The Expendables.
Expendables.
Yeah.
Wasn't there rumours of there being an all-female cast for an Expendables film?
I really wish that,
Yeah, there was.
they would stop remaking existing films and just replacing the cast with all women and actually do something original. Because
I can't wait for the guys' remake of Bridesmaids.
it just pisses me off. Like, no women in film are going to get respect for making shitty remakes. Go do something original or fuck off.
It kind of defeats the point.
Yeah, it makes me angry. Yeah, let's move on.
I thought that the bit when they're in the garden bit and the bridge falls and they have to get the kid.
I remember your reaction to that sequence.
That pissed me off. That did. That
Dwayne
was so
Johnson
stupid.
holding up this entire bit of a bridge.
And she goes over to get the kid
Oh, that pissed
to
me
come
off
back
as well.
again. I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck? Why couldn't he just come over?
I had
Yeah.
exactly the same reaction as you.
Shortly before he throws her down a lift.
Yeah. I thought when watching that bit, I thought it sounds really dark, but I thought if they should like killed him off at that point, because that would have been like more of a, I don't know, it would have made it a bit different. Because then it would defeat the cliche.
Seen the trailer, I knew he wasn't going to die then.
Well, Yeah. No, I mean, there's his wife and the kid.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like, if he's
kill
holding the
family.
thing up and then they could like slow-mo fall down, he'd be like, no, and then it'll give him more
Then
incentive.
she wouldn't have been there to turn the iPad on and off again, then it wouldn't have saved the building.
Yeah, true.
And save from one shit joke.
But then he could have just, I don't know, got a parachute and they could have parachuted down and then he could have just done it himself. Boom.
That's true.
Yeah.
I got to admit, as soon as he picked up those 2 wires and started pulling it back
Yeah.
up, the only thing I thought was, oh, fuck off, mate.
Yeah.
Not that good. And also at the end when the bad guy, I can't even remember his name, but he turns to one of his goonies and he's like, give me your parachute.
Yeah.
I was like, if I was that dude, I'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah, same here. I just jump off the fucking building and be
well,
like, not my parachute, bitch.
Or I'd just like turn around and shoot him or like shoot him or be like,
Yeah, what was he thinking to happen? He looked well fed up. Like, how was he, like...
It's like, oh, this really isn't my day. It's like, I mean, he could have just turned to him and been like, fuck off, mate, and pushed him off the building. That would have saved a lot of trouble.
Surely like he doesn't really
Yeah.
give a shit. He's just like a...
Action movies do have this feature nowadays that whenever somebody pulls a gun, there's no threat anymore because somebody can move faster than the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
Even his wife takes on the guy with the gun. He's just like, I'm too fast for you. There's scissors in your crotch. Like, it just doesn't feel threatening in any movie anymore when somebody holds a gun out because you're just like, it's okay because they'll do a distraction and then they'll just knock
And
the
they
gun
always,
away.
they always take too long to shoot.
Oh, also about the shooting in action films, it doesn't matter whether you're shot at anyway, because no fucking bullet is going to hit you.
That's true.
It
Yeah,
always
I
hits
thought
the
that at the
ground
beginning.
behind you.
It's like they're all shooting at him when he's like legging it across the crane to go and jump through the window.
Yeah.
But the bit at the beginning when after he kills brother, that he leaves the room and then there's all the guys come up the stairwell and they all shoot him with the machine guns, but they all...
Yeah, they're all
He
like
just somehow-
spraying at him. The walls
Yeah.
get taken out, but he's fine.
Yeah, and when he puts that cupboard or whatever in front of the door, he just sort of like, you know, he doesn't even move that quickly out of the way, and the bullets just sort of like go boom.
I wonder what it would have been like to see the pandas being fed at night. Because they never
Yeah,
got to
man.
see that.
I think I've all
That's
done
the
those.
most disappointing thing about the film. They
Yeah,
didn't
that
get to
was
see
a
the
shame.
pandas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the kid had asthma, so it was really sad.
Yeah.
He could have been like, suck on this, and then thrown his inhaler in his face.
Oh, that's another thing. When Neve Campbell was on the phone to The Rock, she was all like, we didn't see the pandas, so that sucked. And then her kid went, that sucked. And she was like, don't say suck. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Is that a swear word now? Or well,
They
I
should have
mean,
used the fuck on that bit.
When the F-bomb was dropped at the end of the movie, Will literally turned to me and went, they wasted it.
They did.
That was one
They should have been like, we didn't see the fucking pandas. And he's like, yeah, fucking pandas. Like, don't say fuck.
I didn't even notice the F-bomb. I'm
Neither did
like,
I.
It was when he was threatening his daughter to throw his
Yeah,
daughter
he's
out
like,
the
Oh.
window.
they got him tied up, and he's like, you know, he has his head down,
Yeah.
and then he looks up at him, and he's like, if you don't get the key, I'm gonna kick your fucking daughter off the building.
Just before I could even take in what was happening on screen, just hear Will just go, wasted it. Wasted the moment.
Well, beforehand, I was like, what rating is it? And you were like 12A, and I was like, oh, so they've only got one fuck.
they should have used it on the pandas. Oh, fucking pandas, mom.
Pandas.
Don't say fuck, you little shit.
And then the Rock's just like, oh, don't say fucking shit, you fuck. Like, fuck off. You can't, you're not even here, fuck. You know?
I loved how all the way through The Rock was like, Daddy loves who? And then the kids were like, me.
I
I'd
love
love
it,
it
it's
if he was
kind of
just like, no, fuck off. Anything intelligent anyone wants to say?
Oh, yeah, we skipped that part this time.
I've
didn't
got
we?
nothing.
I was gonna say something, maybe there's like a metaphor with his leg. Maybe it's like...
Stop going back to the leg, man. Like,
Well,
just
they
let
literally,
it go.
I thought that was gonna be a big part of it.
It kind of should have. If they were going
I
to do
mean,
it, they should have done it properly.
Yeah.
It technically saved his life at times, so you know, like.
Saved by the leg.
Thrill factor.
I'm gonna give this one a 2.
Oh, a 2.
Yeah, I was just more impressed with the visuals really than anything else. And I didn't find the crane jumping sequence or when he was gaffer taped to the building that intense. I feel like the intensity level wasn't necessarily what this movie was going for all the time, but when it did try for it, I don't think it quite hit the bar. So it's 2 for me.
Thrill factor for me, I think, was probably 3. The sort of high up bits, they're quite tense. At least I thought they were quite tense, but the rest of it is just like...
I'm going to give it a 2 as well, actually, because if you're scared of heights, then yeah, the high up bits would be kind of scary. But the whole film's a high up bit, so it kind of got old. But also, I thought any of the kind of thrilling bits were kind of lost on me because I just found it like comedy gold. But yeah, thrill factor 2.
Yeah, I think I'll give it 2 as well, to be honest, because at the end of the day, anything that happens to The Rock is just irrelevant because, you know, he's just going to be alright at the end.
Overall rating.
So, Sam, give me your final rating.
I'm feeling a 4. Yeah, it's definitely a 4.
Dan?
I'll go with a 6.
6? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I enjoyed it. Pretty tense in parts.
This is interesting because you were the most skeptical when we went into this.
Well, that's because a lot of these things you don't really find comedic moments are in there, but in this one it was. Especially the Bumblebee Man bit. I was actually crying with laughter on that bit.
If it wasn't for the comedy moments in it that weren't intentional at all, but that I found funny, it would be much lower. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 6. Yeah,
Cool.
I didn't think it was a good film, but I found it hilarious. So I'd watch it again just for Bumblebee Man. So yeah, it's a 6 from me.
I'm going to give it a 5. It had some nice little bits in it, but overall it's quite, you know, forgettable film. So we've been in the frame. Thank you all for tuning in for this week for our review of Skyscraper. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to ring the bell, the notification bell. And every single Friday we'll be releasing a new episode. So stay tuned and we'll see you next time.
So we got one last thing to do before we go. Dan.
Ay caramba! I'm doing Bumblebee Man.
Sweet.